Morning, ma'am, and good morning, my dear friends. As part of my seminars, so today I want to talk about the topic is on central nervous system stimulants. Okay, central nervous system seminar is on central nervous system stimulants. Okay, before going to our central nervous system stimulants, first we should know the what do you mean by stimulants. Okay, what do you mean by stimulants? Stimulants are the like drug of choices. Okay, these stimulants may increases the activity of the central nervous system and the body. Okay, these stimulants are the drugs. These drugs, okay, these drugs may increases the activity of the central nervous system and the body. Okay, these are the pleasurable and having sympathomimetic effect. Okay, when the patient is taking these type of medications, okay, when the patient is taking these type of drugs, so it may gives some sort of pleasure. Okay, these drugs may give pleasure to the patient, as well as these drugs also having the sympathomimetic effect. Okay, before we'll move on to the central nervous system stimulants, first we should know the what do you mean by nervous system. See, already we have the idea about the nervous system, right? See, since our 10th class and even our BSc nursing anatomy and physiology, we have had an idea about a central nervous system. Okay, what do you mean by central nervous system? Central nervous system is divided into two, that is the nervous system is divided into two, that is central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. And central nervous system, what is the functions of central nervous system? The central nervous system is the body's master control unit. What is the peripheral nervous system? It is the body's link to the outside of the world. Okay, again the central nervous system is divided into three parts. Okay, that is spinal cord, brain stem and brain. Okay, spinal cord, what is the main role of the spinal cord? It is a columns of nerves between the brain as well as the peripheral nervous system. So that is the spinal cord. Comes to the brain stem. Brain stem is connect the brain to the spinal cord, and whereas brain is again divided into three parts, that is the hindbrain, midbrain and forebrain. Okay, these are the parts for the central nervous system. Then the peripheral nervous system again divided into two, that is autonomic nervous system as well as the somatic nervous system. What is the functions of autonomic nervous system in the body? Means it regulates the involuntary body processes, and which includes, so what are the involuntary body processes which may regulate? Okay, the including of heart rate and respiration, digestion and pupil contraction, and even it may operates automatically without conscious direction. That is comes under autonomic nervous system. Next, somatic nervous system, which carries the sensory information from the sense organs to the central nervous system, and it may release motor commands to the muscular and controls the voluntary movements. The somatic nervous system, which carries the sensory informations from the sensory organs to the central nervous system, as well as the which relays the motor means movement, which commands to the muscles. Okay, and which controls the voluntary movements. Okay, again autonomic nervous system is divided into two parts, that is sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system role is prepares the body for action and stress, and this is called fight or flight. Yesterday I have said about the fight or flight action, alarm response, right, in the stress. So this is completely responsible by sympathetic nervous system, whereas parasympathetic nervous system calms the body and helps the body to conserve the energy. Parasympathetic nervous system role is which always calms the body and which helps the body to conserve the energy. These are the nervous system as well as the nervous system parts and their functions. So now we'll move on to the central nervous system stimulant. So completely based on these functions, based on these parts of the body, based on these parts of the central nervous system, how can we increase the activity of the brain? How can we increase the activity of the nervous system? How can we increase the activity of the body? And how can we the pleasure by using this drug? How can it may give the pleasure? Okay, that we'll talk now. Okay, that we'll discuss now. First we'll move on to the what are the central nervous system stimulants. Okay, what are the central nervous system stimulants? Again, central nervous system stimulants are central nervous system drugs as divided into two, that is psychomotor stimulants and hallucinogens. Okay, psychomotor stimulants and hallucinogens, these two are the central nervous system stimulants. Okay, a psychomotor stimulants, what is the use, what is the function or action of central psychomotor stimulants means this may causes the excitement and euphoria. Euphoria means a feeling of a state of happiness, that is called euphoria. Means always when we use these psychomotor stimulants, okay, it may give some excitement and it may give some happiness to the body. Okay, then these psychomotor stimulants again, it may decreases the feeling of fatigue. When the patient is affected with the fatigue, when we'll use these stimulants, it may decreases, okay, decreases the feeling of fatigue and increase motor activity. Okay, when the patient is having like lack of movements, okay, lack of movements, okay, these by using these central nervous system stimulants, it may gives the increases the motor activity. Then hallucinogens, by the meaning itself we can understand hallucinogens. Okay, this is the psychomimetic drugs. Okay, hallucinogens are the psychomimetic drugs, okay, which produce changes in thought pattern as well as the mood. Okay, always when we'll use these type of drugs, when we'll use hallucinogens drugs, okay, we'll use this, no, it will have a psychomimetic effect, as well as it may produce the changes in your thinking pattern, as well as there will be a changes in the mood. Okay, now we'll move on to the what are the psychomotor stimulants or what are the psychomotor drugs. Okay, the psychomotor stimulants are amphetamine, dextroamphetamine, methylphenidate, methylxanthines, caffeine, nicotine, cocaine. These are the drugs for the psychomotor stimulants. Then what are the drugs for the hallucinogens? Okay, the hallucinogens stimulants are lysergic acid diethylamide and tetrahydrocannabinol and phencyclidine. Okay, these are the three drugs for the hallucinogens, psychomotor and stimulants and hallucinogens stimulants. First we'll move on to the under psychomotor stimulants. First we'll see the methylxanthines. Okay, what are the methylxanthine drugs means, which include theophylline, means containing the tea, and theobromine, which we'll see in the coca, and caffeine, coffee, tea, coca, chocolates and cola drinks. Okay, these are the methylxanthine is the classification of the drug of choice for the psychomotor stimulants. Under the methylxanthines classifications, there are the examples of the drugs that are theophylline, theobromine and caffeine. Okay, the mechanism of action is translocation of extracellular classifications calcium. Okay, a translocation in the sense where they want to bond with one substance, but there will be a breakage may occur there, again they may reattaches to the another substance, that is the translocation. Here these drugs are completely translocated to the extracellular calcium in the brain. Okay, that may be increases the CAMP and GMP caused by inhibition of phosphodiesterase. Okay, increases the increases the AMP in the sense like this is CAMP in the sense cyclic adenosine monophosphatase. Okay, and cyclic guanosine monophosphatase. Okay, these are the two regulators are there. Okay, so when the patient is using methylxanthines, these may be increases, these regulations may be increases, means these what are the responsible of these regulators means which may regulates the calcium hormone stimulation. Okay, which may regulates the calcium hormone stimulation in the brain. So automatically when the people are using methylxanthines, there will be a AMP and CMP may be increases which caused by the inhibition of phosphodiesterase, and there will be a blockage may occur. Okay, there may be a blockage may occur in the adenosine receptors. Okay, these adenosine receptors also may helpful in the systems. Okay, these methylxanthines. Okay, when we'll block these adenosine receptors, automatically we'll have a some sort of excitement. Okay, methylxanthines actions, how it may act. methylxanthin stimulants. Okay, central nervous system stimulants. These may reduces the, what is the use of methylxanthin means, which reduces the fatigue, which increases the mental alertness due to stimulation of the cortex and other areas of the brain, and very high doses can produce anxiety and tremor, and tolerance to caffeine can develop, and withdrawal consists of feelings of fatigue and sedation. So here when we will use central nervous system stimulants, okay, or methylxanthins, okay, which methylxanthins may reduces the fatigue and increases the mental alertness. Because how can it reduces and increase the mental alertness means, due to stimulation, it may stimulates the cortex and other areas of the brain. There will get some sort of relaxation in the fatigue as well as the increase the mental alertness. When we will take methylxanthin high amount, which may produce the anxiety and tremor. So a tolerance to caffeine can develop, and withdrawal consists of feelings or fatigue of the sedation. At high doses has positive inotropic and chronotropic effects, can be harmful to angina patients. When you will take high amount, it may gives the this type of tremors and anxiety. So that may be harmful to angina patients. When the people are affected with the angina or severe chest pain, that also may harmful when people are using this, and can be a trigger to premature ventricular contractions. Okay, even this may be affected to the heart also. The caffeine has a mild diuretic effect, which may increases the urinary output of sodium, potassium and calcium. So caffeine, when the patient is taking caffeine contain of drugs, okay, but that may be having the mild diuretic effect, like that may be increases the urine output. Okay, urine output, like in the urine output, that may be sodium, calcium and calcium also can be chloride also may be come out through the urine, and stimulates the secretion of hydrochloric acid from gastric mucosa, should be avoided in peptic ulcer. So we are not supposed to use when the patient is suffering from the peptic ulcer, because these methylxanthins may be stimulates the secretion of hydrochloric acid from the gastric mucosa. Then the methylxanthins therapeutic uses are, it may relax the smooth muscles of the bronchioles is respiratory. Okay, so it may relax the bronchioles in the smooth muscles of the bronchioles in the lungs. And theophylline was used for asthma, but it is being replaced by beta agonist and corticosteroid. So actually theophylline drug is used to use as a bronchodilators when the patient is suffering with the severe asthma or bronchioles. So the people here used to use theophylline, but nowadays they were not using, they were using completely beta agonist and corticosteroids instead of theophylline. What are the side effects after using methylxanthins? Okay, there will be insomnia may affected, and anxiety and agitation. Next we'll move on to the nicotine. Okay, nicotine is the drug of choice for the psychomotor stimulants. Okay, nicotine is the central nervous system stimulant, and it's not used therapeutically except in smoking cessation therapy. Okay, and stimulation of sympathetic ganglia increases the blood pressure and heart rate. So when the patient is using nicotine drug, okay, it is not used therapeutically. Actually we are not using as a treatment based, except in the smoking cessation therapy, except when the patient is under smoking. Because in the smoking area only, in the smoking, when the patient is taking these tobacco and all, that may in the cigarettes or tobacco leaves, okay, the nicotine contains the nicotine, these type of things are containing more amount of nicotine. So that is the way. So except in the smoking session, it is not used in a therapeutically. So stimulation of sympathetic ganglia increases the blood pressure and heart rate. So when the patient is using nicotine, it may stimulate the sympathetic ganglia in the nervous system. So when stimulation occurs to the ganglia area, which may increases the blood pressure as well as the increases the heart rate. Particularly it may harmful in the hypertensive patients. Okay, because automatically when they use nicotine, automatically there will be a increased blood pressure. So when the patient is suffering from the hypertension, we are not supposed to use, because it may increases more and more. So nicotine induced vasoconstriction and can decrease coronary blood flow and adversely affect the patient with angina. Okay, when the nicotine uses that may induces the vasoconstriction, blood vessel constriction of the blood vessels, and which may decreases the coronary blood flow also, which may decreases, and adversely it may affected with the patients those are suffering from the angina pectoris. Then the high amount of nicotine may result in central nervous system respiratory paralysis, central respiratory paralysis. Okay, so when you are taking high amount of nicotine, which may result in complete respiratory paralysis, and severe hypotension will have, and which is caused by the medullary paralysis, and along with other components of cigarettes like tars and carbon monoxide, nicotine is a risk factor for lung and cardiovascular disease and cancer, because when the patient smokes, in the smoking zone only we'll use this, like in the tars and carbon monoxide are the components in the cigarettes. Okay, these are completely contain high amount of nicotine. Okay, so when the patient are in the smoking cessation therapy, okay, smoking cessation therapy means when the people are like completely addicted to the smoking, so if they cannot immediately they cannot overcome the cigarette smoking, addiction of cigarette smoking. So what the therapies will do, okay, here they will give, say, at least for example, if a person is taking 20 cigarettes per day, if I'll say him to stop the 20 cigarettes per day, automatically immediately he cannot stop. So that is the way what the therapist may do means they will give the smoking therapy. Smoking therapy means they will have a smoking zone. There they will gather all the smoking addicted people, and every day per day they will give at least they will reduce the quantity of the cigarettes. Like if per day if he is used to take at least 20 cigarettes, by next day 19, by next day 18, so like that they will reduce the quantity of the cigarettes. So under the cigarette smoking cessation therapy only we'll use the nicotine drug. So that is the way these, along with other components of cigarettes like tars, carbon monoxide, nicotine. So that is the way why the serious action where it may affect when the patient is addicted to the smoking, completely may affected on the lungs, right? So that is the way lungs completely affected when the patient is under nicotine. Okay, there are the major risk factors may cease in the lungs, and it may be as well as the cardiovascular diseases. Sometimes it may be cancer, lung cancer also may affect. Nicotine causes dependence that is not easily overcome. So we cannot overcome from the nicotine. When if he is completely dependent on the nicotine, we cannot overcome from that. And withdrawal symptoms and include irritability and anxiety, restlessness. Suddenly feel withdrawal from the nicotine, he may have irritability, anxiety, restlessness, headache and insomnia. And smoking cessation program should be combined pharmacological and behavioral therapy, and we need to conduct some smoking cessation programs also. And transdermal nicotine patch and nicotine chewing gum can reduce withdrawal symptoms. So these containing, so even the transdermal nicotine patch also one type of item. Okay, and nicotine chewing gums also are available, okay, to reduce the withdrawal symptoms. Okay, like what are the nicotine drugs? Okay, here, so if you want to see clearly, you can see actually this is the blood concentration of nicotine in individuals who smoked cigarettes, chewed nicotine gum or received nicotine by transdermal patches. Okay, here with the cigarettes also they have given 1.5 cigarettes per day, how much quantity is rising, how much his blood concentration is damaging. And nicotine chewing gum, 2 pieces of chewing gum, how much amount. Okay, and transdermal patch in one place. Okay, how much blood nicotine concentration is there when they were doing the cigarette smoking or nicotine gums or patches in the places. So this is the completely like blood concentration of nicotine in individuals who smoked cigarettes or chewing gums or chewed nicotine gums or received a nicotine by transdermal patches. Okay, now we'll move on to the what are the nicotine containing drugs. Okay, like the first one is bupropion. These are the antidepressant. Okay, we'll use the bupropion as the antidepressants also, which can reduce the craving for cigarettes. When patient is using bupropion, this is under the nicotine is the classification of the drug for the psychomotor. Under that, the example of the drug is bupropion. Bupropion is antidepressant. Okay, these when the patient is taking, even we can reduce the depression as well as we can reduce the craving for the cigarettes also. Then varenicline. Okay, varenicline is the drug of choice for the nicotine example of drug, and partial agonist at neuronal nicotinic acetylcholine receptors in the central nervous system, and produces these nicotine varenicline is produces the less euphoric effects than the nicotine. Okay, then the useful as an adjustant in the management of smoking cessation in patients with nicotine withdrawal syndrome. When the patient is suffering with the withdrawal syndrome, so even this varenicline is the helpful for the smoking cessation. Okay, attenuate the rewarding effects of nicotine if a person relapses and uses tobacco, and it may having the some rewarding effects also when the patient completely under use of tobacco. And patient should be monitored for suicidal thoughts and mood changes. So sometimes when they stop suddenly cigarette smoking and all, even they may have some sort of like suicidal thoughts also they may have, and they may change some mood changes also they may affect it. So as a nurse we need to monitor everything. The next we'll move on to the cocaine. Okay, cocaine also one of the psychomotor stimulant. Okay, psychomotor drug. So under cocaine is the classification of the drug under for psychomotor stimulants, and so this cocaine is the highly addictive. Okay, highly addictive and a drug of abuse, and classified as Schedule 2 by the US Drug Enforcement Agency. Okay, cocaine. Cocaine is the mechanism of action is it completely inhibits the reuptake of the norepinephrine and serotonin and dopamine into the presynaptic terminals. Okay, cocaine helpful to the inhibit the reuptake of norepinephrine. These are the neurotransmitters which provides or which gives signals from the neuron to the brain. Okay, these are the neurotransmitters. So when the patient is taking a cocaine, these all the neuroreceptors, okay, neurotransmitters, the norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine, these all the areas may be inhibits. Okay, it binds to the monoaminergic reuptake transporters, and it may potentiates the prolonged central nervous system and peripheral actions these monoamines. Prolonged dopaminergic effects in the brain's pleasure system, and brain's pleasure system produces the intense euphoria initially. The chronic intake of cocaine depletes dopamine, causing craving for cocaine. Okay, see, when the patient is using cocaine drugs, okay, cocaine drugs, what will happen means it may gives a prolonged potentiations to the, it may increases the or prolongs the central nervous system as well as the peripheral nervous system's actions. Okay, then it may gives the dopaminergic effects also in the brain's pleasure system, and it may produces the euphoria initially. So when the patient is taking cocaine, you will have a feeling of pleasure, you will have a feeling of excitement. Okay, the chronic intake of cocaine, so when the patient is taking excess amount of cocaine, it may depletes or decreases the dopamine. Okay, so when the dopamine is not releasing, okay, if the dopamine neurotransmitters are not releasing or not secreting from the brain, so automatically the patients may have like some sort of like people may feel with the psychosis behavior. So that is the way when the dopamine decreases, automatically the patients may show some sort of symptoms. So even that may automatically the patients may have, if the chronic intake of cocaine, which may crave for the means they will completely depend on the cocaine, right, when they were using excessively. So automatically they will crave for the cocaine. Actions, it may actions like produces the euphoria, increases the mental awareness, can cause the hallucinogens, and at high doses it causes the convulsions. So when the patient is taking high amount, that may leads to convulsions, and there will be a respiratory depression also, and it may activate the sympathetic nervous system, and which causing tachycardia and hypertension. Okay, this cocaine always activates the sympathetic nervous system, and thereby there will be a tachycardia may occur and hypertension may occur, and Barreau's baroreceptors. These baroreceptors may helpful for the, like these are the centers, baroreceptor centers are there in the medulla oblongata of the brain. Okay, these may helpful in the, like even the blood pressure also, regulation of the blood pressure also. So baroreceptor reflexes may be impaired sometimes when the patient is using high amount of cocaine. And hyperthermia, patient sometimes when he is taking excessive amount, cocaine is a unique among illicit drugs in death, then can result also from the drug's ability to cause a hyperthermia. Even a small dose of intranasal cocaine impairs sweating, cutaneous vasodilation, perception of thermal discomfort. So if you take high dose, there is a causative factor, there is a symptoms we can see, adverse effects. When you take small amount of, there will be a impairment of the sweating, and vasodilatation of the blood vessels may occur, and there will be a discomfort may occur. Okay, what are the therapeutic uses for the cocaine? Is cocaine has a local anesthetic action. When the patient is taking cocaine drug, local anesthetic, it may produce the local anesthetic action, and it may represent only therapeutic uses. And cocaine is applied topically. Okay, cocaine is applied topically as local anesthetic drug. And sometimes that may be will use the cocaine drug anesthetic, as a local anesthetic drug also. So that is will use this anesthetic drug on ear, eye, nose and throat surgery. Local anesthetic action of cocaine is due to block of voltage activated sodium channels. Why we are using local anesthetic as a cocaine as a local anesthetic drug means it may, because it may block the voltage activated sodium channels. Cocaine adverse effect. When the patient after taking cocaine, so what are the adverse effects? So here they have given, like see, euphoria, tachycardia and regulation, and these are the agitations and all, hyperthermia, okay, dyspnea, okay, lung problems, and these are the adverse effects. So the patients may have adverse effects like anxiety, depression, agitation, seizures and fatal arrhythmias. Okay. Next we will move on to the amphetamines. These also psychomotor drug. Okay, amphetamines which releases intracellular stores of the catecholamines. These also when the patient is taking amphetamines drugs, which may release the all neurotransmitters, that is serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and which may inhibits the monoamino oxidase. And the examples of drugs are dextroamphetamine and methamphetamine. Okay, these are the similar drugs we will use. Okay, amphetamines, under amphetamines. So these are the examples of drugs. The action of the drugs are which increases the alertness and which reduces the fatigue. Because how it increases the alertness means, because automatically this may produces the release of these drugs may affect on the central nervous system, which releases the, thereby after using this drug there will be a release of neurotransmitter, that is norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine. So when these releases occurs automatically, which may increases the alertness and which may reduce the fatigue, depress the appetite and activate the sympathetic nervous system. And so these are the things we can see after using amphetamines. Okay, which can cause the dependency also. So that is the way. So when we use excess amount, so there completely you may addicted to these amphetamines. That is the way. You need to use limited dose. Amphetamine therapeutic uses are it may give the treatment of hyperactivity, like when the patient when the children are suffering from the ADHD, okay, activity dependency hyper disorder, okay, when the patient is suffering from hyperactivity disorders, children, so in those conditions also we can use. Then the appetite control and narcolepsy, under that amphetamine methylphenidate also using of these therapeutic uses. Amphetamine adverse effects are like insomnia, okay, vertigo and irritability, weakness, palpitations, arrhythmia, hypertension, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Okay, amphetamine, when the patient is using amphetamine, after that they may show these type of adverse effects. Then the contraindicated, when we are not supposed to use these amphetamine means when the patient is suffering with the hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, hyperthyroidism. Okay, when the patient is having these type of disease conditions, we are not supposed to use amphetamine. Next one is methylphenidate. Methylphenidate is also a central nervous system stimulant. Under that, a psychomotor stimulant. So methylphenidate is the one of the drug of choice. Example of drug. So the mechanism of action is children those who are affected with the activity deficit hyperactivity disorder may produce weak dopamine signals. Okay. Then which suggest that once when the patient children are suffering with the hyperactivity disorder, and in that it may produce some weak dopamine signals. And because when the patient is suffering with this type of disorder, so there will be a weak dopamine signals we can see, and which suggests that once interesting activities provide fewer rewards to these children. Methylphenidate is a dopamine transporter inhibitor and may act by increasing dopamine in the synaptic space. So already the patient is having activity deficit. So that is the way in those disorders. So automatically the methylphenidate also will helpful in the release of dopamine receptors. When the dopamine receptors increases, automatically the patients may have good activity. So completely will use these in the ADHD children. Okay, if sometimes this may cause as a dependency, sometimes we may addicted to the methylphenidate. Okay, adverse effects are abdominal pain, nausea, anorexia, insomnia, nervousness and fever. So methylphenidate can interfere in the metabolism of warfarin, phenytoin, phenobarbital, primidone and tricyclic antidepressants. Okay, even sometimes these may be methylphenidate can be interfere with other drugs of the metabolism like warfarin, phenytoin and phenobarbital and phenytoin is the anticonvulsion, phenobarbital is the anesthetic drug, general anesthetic. Okay, like warfarin, these all the drugs are will use when the patient is having blood disorders, platelet disorders, and primidone and tricyclic antidepressants drugs. Okay, next we'll move on to the hallucinogens. Hallucinogens are the psychomimetics. Okay, or hallucinogens are which hallucinogens which may produces the these hallucinogens may helpful in the people those who are suffering with the some type of mood disorders, or when the people are suffering with the some thought thinking. So completely when the patient is using these hallucinogens, there will be a changes may occur in the mood pattern as well as the thinking pattern. So these are the psychomimetic drugs that induce alertness. So hallucinogens are the one of the another central nervous system stimulants. Okay, second central nervous system stimulants which induce the altered perceptual states accompanied by visions of bright colorful changes in the environment. When the patient is using hallucinogens, when the patient is having some any changes in the vision or any changes in the environment, so when they use these type of hallucinogens drugs, they'll have a visions of brightness, and they'll see some changes in the colorful changes in the environment. Okay, these drugs impair normal decision making because they interfere with the rational thought. Sometimes these may be harmful to the people. Okay, because these will completely impair the normal decision making. So even the people cannot take a normal decisions according to the problems. Okay, so because sometimes it may interfere with the rational thought. So under hallucinogens, lysergic acid diethylamide, okay, LSD, so it having the serotonin agonist effect, and it may activate the sympathetic nervous system, okay, which occurs causing pupillary dilation, increased blood pressure and increased body temperature. And taken orally, low doses of LSD can induce hallucinogens with brilliant colors. Haloperidol and other neuroleptics can block the hallucinatory action of LSD. Adverse effects are here when the patient is using hallucinogens. Okay, these when we'll use it may activate the sympathetic nervous system. Okay, when the sympathetic nervous system activates, automatically there will be a dilatation of the pupil, and there will be increased blood pressure, there will be increased body temperature. So always we need to take it orally as a tablet form. When the patient is taking low doses of LSD, which may induce the hallucinogen, so normal amount we need to take. And haloperidol also another neuroleptic. Okay, this also can block the hallucinatory action of the LSD. What are the adverse effects after taking LSD drugs? There will be hyperreflexia, increased of the reflexes, nausea, muscular weakness. High doses, when they're taking high amount of LSD drugs also can produce a prolonged, long-lasting psychotic changes. Then the next drug of choice is for hallucinogens are tetrahydrocannabinol. Tetrahydrocannabinol found in the marijuana. Marijuana are this is the one of the drug. Okay, so we'll found this tetrahydrocannabinol in the marijuana plant drug. Okay, plant sources drug. Okay, which produces euphoria. Okay, when we use these drugs, automatically the patients may have feeling of some pleasure, feeling of some excitement, feeling of some happiness they may have, which is followed by the drowsiness. Always marijuana means this is a one highly drug. Okay, highly drug addictive, drowsiness and relaxation, and can cause hallucinations. Okay, so effects, hallucinants effects are like sometimes when the patient is using these effects are tachycardia, hypertension, and hallucinations. Okay, effects which includes appetite stimulations and xerostomia, visual hallucinations and delusions. Okay, these may affect on the appetite stimulus, affect on the xerostomia, and xerostomia means when the people are having blood vision problems, and visual hallucinations and delusions. In those areas we can use these hallucinogens. Then the adverse effects. So when the people are suffering with the delusions, illusions, visual problems or visual hallucinations, visual delusions, any visual problems, appetites and all, when we'll use it may having the effect. Okay, adverse effects. What are the adverse effects for hallucinations means adverse effects, short term memory and mental activity. Okay, side effects or adverse effects are short term memory and mental activity also may affect, and they'll have a decreased muscle strength and impair skilled motor activity. There will be increased heart rate, decreased blood pressure, and because automatically it actually when the patient is taking it used to increase the blood pressure. So when after taking this blood pressure, sometimes adverse effect like decreased blood pressure and reddening of the conjunctiva problems also, and high doses may, when the patient is taking high amount of hallucinogens, which may produce the toxic psychosis develops. Okay, the next hallucinogen is phencyclidine. Phencyclidine is the example of hallucinogens. These also central nervous system stimulants. This is the illegal drug. Legally they are not at all using in the psychiatric hospitals or any other hospitals. Also known as PCP or angel dust, and which inhibits the reuptake of dopamine. Okay, and which produces the numbness of extremities. Okay, always when actually what is the action of these drugs? Phencyclidine means it inhibits the reuptake of the dopamine. So when the dopamine reuptake may inhibits after taking these drugs, which may produce the numbness of extremities. Numbness may occur in the extremities, as well as the patient is having gait and slurred speech and muscular rigidity. And sometimes increased doses, when the patient is taking high amount of phencyclidine, there will be anesthesia means patients completely may have drowsiness and stupor, and the patients may have coma may result. Okay, high doses, when the patient is taking high doses, these are the symptoms may cease. Okay, increased sensitivity to external stimuli results. Okay, sometimes there will be increased to external stimuli, which may result central nervous system actions may persist for a week. A tolerance after develop with continued uses. So sometimes tolerance also, we can have some tolerance also, which may develops with continued use. There is no therapeutic application because this is illegal drug, so that is the way there is no therapeutic application. Okay, so these are the central nervous system stimulants. Okay, so let me conclude my topic here. Seminar on central nervous system, we have seen the psychomotor stimulants. First we'll see all the central nervous system functions. Okay, next we have seen central nervous system stimulants, psychomotor and hallucinogens and their functions. And the under psychomotor stimulants there are the drugs, that is amphetamine dextroamphetamine, methylphenidate, methylxanthines, caffeine, nicotine and cocaine. And the next central nervous system stimulants is hallucinogens. Under the hallucinogens like lysergic acid diethylamide and tetrahydrocannabinol and phencyclidine. We have seen the adverse effects when the high doses which leads to low doses which leads to adverse mechanism of action, therapeutic uses. Okay, we have seen everything under central nervous system stimulants. Okay, thank you ma'am, thank you everyone.